You know the feeling. It's one of the most maddening parts of dating today. You have a first date that is just fantastic. The conversation is easy, you're both laughing, the chemistry feels like it's actually there. They're talking about all the things you should do on a second date, they're laying on the compliments, and then nothing. Radio silence. It's a total vanishing act, and it can leave you wondering what on earth just happened.
So, what is really going on? How does a connection that feels so promising just completely fizzle out? Well, today we're going to play detective. We're going to solve the mystery of why these great dates suddenly go ice cold by looking at the clues and piecing together what's really happening behind the scenes.
And hey, if this sounds familiar, you are so not alone. This comment from a Reddit user just hits the nail on the head, right? It perfectly captures that feeling of confusion. It feels like they're pretending, sending these wild mixed signals. But is it really an act? Or is there something else going on? Let's dig into our first major clue.
All right, our investigation starts with the #1 most common reason for a post-date disappearing act. It's a word we throw around all the time, but we probably don't realize just how powerful it is. It's all about the spark.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It must be something you said, or maybe something you did wrong. But the data, well, the data points to a much simpler and honestly kind of more frustrating truth.
Check this out. Dating expert Matthew Hussey ran a poll asking people for the real reason they didn't ask for a second date. And the answer is just wow. A whopping 56%, that's more than half, said it was simply because they didn't feel a spark. It wasn't about major compatibility issues or not being over an ex. More than half the time, it's really that simple.
So what even is this spark? Think of it as that chemistry you just can't force or fake. It's an energy. And here's the crucial part. You can have an amazing time talking to someone, you can have a ton in common, but if one person isn't feeling that deeper, almost electric pull, for them, the date is a dead end. And that's the catch. For it to work, both of you have to feel it.
Okay, I get it. You're probably thinking, fine, they didn't feel a spark, but why did they act so interested? This brings us to our second clue, which explains that massive disconnect between what you experienced on the date and what they were actually thinking.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. What you saw were all the green lights, compliments, talk about the future, flirty banter. But what they might have been feeling was a totally different story. It might have just been a performance. As Matthew Hussey explains, it's just more fun to be charming and impressive on a date. Even if you know deep down it's not going anywhere, it makes the hour more enjoyable for everyone involved.
And dating coach Matt Boggs gives us an even deeper reason for this performance. He says that for a lot of guys, their sense of self-worth is tied to their ability to make you happy in that moment. So being funny and romantic isn't necessarily about faking interest in the future with you, it's about validating themselves right then and there. It makes them feel good.
And this right here is the absolute key. This whole performance, this drive to impress and get that validation, it happens while they are still figuring out if they're actually into you. It's part of their decision-making process, not a sign that they've already decided they want more. So if they realize mid-date it's not a fit, the performance might continue, but the follow-up text is never going to come.
So maybe we just need to reframe what a first date really is. The best way to think about it is like a movie trailer. It shows you all the best clips, the explosions, the funny lines. It's designed to get you excited. But we all know a great trailer does not guarantee a great movie, right? A first date is just a glimpse, not a promise.
Okay, let's move on to our final clue, because beyond the chemistry and the performance, sometimes the reason someone fades is a lot more practical. It boils down to a simple cost-benefit analysis, what I like to call the effort equation.
These reasons, pulled from real conversations online, show a totally different side of the coin. Sometimes, a person disappears because they felt like they were doing all the work, like it was one-way traffic. For others, the investment of time, money, and what one person called uncomfortable effort just doesn't feel worth it if the outcome is uncertain. It's not about you, it's just practical for them.
So the bottom line is this: dating is an investment. And if someone feels like the potential return on their investment is low, whether that's because they aren't feeling enough enthusiasm back from you or they just think it'll be too much work, they might decide to cut their losses early. It's basically a business decision for the heart.
So, we've identified our main suspects: a missing spark, a charming performance, and a practical effort equation. The mystery is pretty much solved, but the biggest question remains: what do you do with all this information? How do you actually move forward? Well, Matt Boggs offers this really powerful 3-step framework. First, remind. Remind yourself that the right person for you, someone consistent, someone who adores you, is out there.
Second, release. Don't fight it. When someone shows you they're not interested, believe them. Their exit just created an opening for the right person. And finally, gratitude. Be grateful for the fun you had and be grateful for the clarity you got that this just wasn't your person.
Ultimately, you can't control another person. You can't force them to feel a spark or convince them you're worth the effort. The real power here comes from shifting your own perspective. It's about understanding these dynamics so you don't take it personally or get stuck in a cycle of confusion. Your worth has absolutely nothing to do with someone else's spark.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If a great first date isn't a promise of a future, then what is it? Well, maybe it's just that. A great date. One fun evening. It's an experience, a data point on your journey, and maybe, just maybe, a little reminder that the only validation that really matters has to come from you.